What is going on, dudes? Lady dudes, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, I'm doing a little discussion video about aromages. I think it's a really cool archetype. I think it's a very aesthetically pleasing archetype to a lot of people. I am a fan of the artwork for sure. I think they're all really beautiful cards. And I think they use a strategy that we always, like, maybe an older style of Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, thought would be a thing. Like, we knew there were fire archetypes that burn, but there weren't a ton that were all about gaining life points. And this was really, like, the first one that truly cemented itself as the quintessential life point gaining archetype. Because gaining life points doesn't necessarily win you the duel, but it does keep you from losing the duel. So people thought it was probably worse than burning as well. But anyway, if you don't know, in Chaos Impact, the next core set that I think comes out in what? October? I want to say October. It will be releasing. We'll be getting 5 new AROMAGE cards. On top of that, we get like a generically good plant support card later on in another side set, which I'll talk about as well. But I just want to go through this and talk about where the deck is now and where I think the deck can actually be with the new support. Because I don't think it's terrible. I don't think it's amazing. But it is one of those decks that I think, like, if you are a casual player, you love plant archetypes, you've been waiting for one to really be good enough without being an FTK, because that's kind of been the trend that plants really haven't been able to do much except for like FTKs over the last couple of years. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. As far as the AROMAGE stuff that we have to start with before all the new stuff, we've got some solid cards like our AROMAGE Jasmine. She gives you a double summon for plant monsters. She gives you a draw one card, usually once per turn. And just really phenomenal card. Like, the only thing you complain about is her attack stat, but her defense is 1900, so it's not even bad. Next up, we have Aromatherapy Angelica. This is a really nice support. I'm not going to go through every single AROMAGE card, but the ones that I feel like are the important ones to note. This is a card that you can discard from your hand as a quick effect, so on your opponent's turn as well, target an arrow monster in your graveyard, and you gain life points equal to that. And if you don't know, a lot of the cards in the archetype trigger when you gain life points to do something else. Like on your opponent's turn, you're popping cards, you're negating cards, you're banishing cards from your opponent's graveyard, stuff like that. So that could be come in really handy. And then also, if your life points are higher than your opponent's and you control an arrow monster, you can just bring this card back from the graveyard but banish it when it leaves the field. So that's just an extra body on board as follow-up plays, which is pretty nice. I really like Angelica. She's a really solid card. Aroma Garden, a really solid field spell for the archetype. Just once per turn, if you control an aroma monster, you're going to gain 500. That's triggering your other effects. And then also, all monsters you control, not just aroma monsters, not just plants, gain 500 attack and defense until the end of your opponent's next turn, which is nice. And also, if a face-up aroma monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect and sent to the graveyard, gain 1,000. So this card can be really annoying for your opponent to work around. They're outing your stuff, they're destroying your stuff, but you're still just gaining life points like crazy. That second effect is not even a once per turn, so you're just 1,000, 1,000, 1,000 if they wipe your board, and then like you haven't even been losing life points. Human Winds is a really nice card that we start with here. One of the better traps of the two, probably. Where once per turn you can pay 1,000 life points to add an aroma monster from your deck to your hand. That's a really nice effect because it's a trap card. You can activate on your turn, your opponent's turn, whenever. Just keep getting monsters. It feels like endless for your opponent to like plow through all the monsters you keep getting. And also, if your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can gain 500 life points, which is really nice. So you just pay 1,000, then gain 500. That triggers off other effects that hopefully eventually will get you above your opponent's life points, getting you other effects as well. And you can do both those effects in the same turn, but just once per turn each. So really good, a really phenomenal card for the archetype. Seriously, you're going to gain so many life points that 1,000 doesn't feel like much most of the time, but a really good card. Next up is Dried Winds, where once per turn, if you gain life points, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and destroy it. It's targeting removal, but if you do have like Angelica or some other cards that gain you life points on your opponent's turn, you can just kind of pop something on your opponent's turn, which can be a nice disruption. And then also, if you control an arrow monster and your life points is at least 3,000 higher than your opponent's, you pay the difference and then destroy however many monsters, like total attack, like fits into that however much you paid. And so that can like just wipe boards. It's a fine card. I don't know if you played it more than 1 or maybe 2 copies, especially since they're searchable now. There was a huge problem before where these two were not searchable, and the aroma cards largely weren't searchable, but we have more cards that make it a little more consistent, and we'll get to that later. Aromatherapy Rosemary, a nice card that just gives you 500 boost to all your plants while also negating an opponent's face-up monster. or face-up card when you gain life points until the end of the turn, which is pretty nice. Nice card, not terrible, not great, but it's all right. And then the amazing card that we have. This is like the best plant card we've ever seen in existence. While your life points are higher, it makes all your plants essentially unbeatable by battle. You contribute a monster she points to special summon a plant straight from the deck in defense position, no other restrictions. And then once per turn, if you gain life points, you get to add any plant from deck to hand, no restrictions whatsoever. She's 1800. She's amazing. She takes any 2 plants, not even locked into aroma monsters. She's insane. She's insane. She'll come up a lot talking in this video. Whoa, I don't want that. But anyway, so talking about the new stuff. We have a couple monsters, a spell, a trap, and an extra deck monster, I believe. So let's get into it. AROMAGE Lara, I want to say, is a really cool card. It's a level 1, and if your life points are higher than your opponent's, you just get to drop it out of the hand for free special summon. Then if you gain a life point at any point, you can target a plant monster on the field, and it becomes a tuner to the end of the turn. That becomes important for making the new synchro we have. Make himself a tuner, that we have a new level 5. Boom, those 2 together, you make the new one, and the new one's actually really good. And then also if he's sent to the graveyard, gain 500 life points. Again, just more ways to trigger effects, more ways to make sure your life points are higher than your opponent. Really nice in time as well. Just a good card there. Next up here is AROMAGE Marjoram. She's probably the worst of the support cards. She's kind of a brick. I wish, like, if we were going to get a level 5 like her, that she would be a little more flexible at, like, getting herself out of the hand. But she keeps you from taking battle damage while your life points are higher than your opponent's. When a plant monster you control is destroyed by battle, you can special her from the hand. That's the only way she gets herself onto the field. Then you gain 500 life points. That's okay, but like I'm not trying to sacrifice stuff in the battle phase just to get her on the field. And then if you gain life points, you can target cards your opponent in your opponent's graveyard up to the number of aroma monsters you control and banish them. That's like an okay effect actually, because that can just be really strong against certain decks like Striker, Thunder Dragon, Guard Dragon decks, stuff like that. So Orcus as well. Yep. So decent card, but like I wish it got itself out of the hand. That's the one complaint I have about it, really. Next up is Aroma Gardening. At first I thought this card was like okay, but it's actually way better than you'd think, where it's once per turn, if you normal or special summon an aroma monster, except during the damage step, gain 1,000 life points. Okay. And then also when an opponent's monster declares an attack while your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can special summon an aroma monster straight from your deck. Second effect isn't really you're not really hoping that comes up a whole bunch, because like you're trying to get up early on your opponent in terms of life points, and then you just like steamroll from there. You're not really trying to be in back and forth, but I guess in specific situations that can be nice. Mainly it's just that first effect, and that first effect really lets you like depict when you're going to gain those life points, because you can wait your whole combo, and as soon as you're about to make Aromatherapy Jasmine, you activate this card first, you summon her, this triggers, then that gets her effect to just add a plant from deck to hand, where otherwise you might not have had a card to actually trigger the life point gain to get her to get that search, and that search might be crucial, you don't know. But I think it's a solid card. I mean, it's a hard once per turn. It stays face up, so it's like you don't need a ton. 1, maybe 2 copies of it, probably, and then you have other cards that can fill in the rest. New Trap, Blessed Winds is a really good card. Blessed Winds is a really strong card. It has 3 different effects, but when you activate it, you just pick one of the 3. You can either send a plant monster from hand or field to the graveyard to gain 500 life points. Okay, quick life point gain. Target a plant monster in your graveyard, shuffle into the deck, then gain 500 life points. Okay. Resetting your stuff, resetting maybe a Jasmine, resetting some stuff that you still need in deck to search out or whatever. That could be nice. Or you can pay 1,000 life points as cost to special summon a aroma monster from your graveyard. So this one I love. This one just straight up puts stuff on the field. This can put big body plant monsters you already went through in part of your combos, get them back on the field. You can put a Lone Fire Blossom back on the field. Oh, I'm sorry, it's an Aroma. Sorry, you have to put an Aroma. My bad. You put a Jasmine back on the field. You put any of your synchros back on the field that may have been destroyed. Your level 5 is a 2,000 beat stick. Whatever. Jasmine, or a regular Jasmine, which will give you a normal summon if your life points are still higher. A ton of utility in this card. This is a card I'm probably playing at 2, maybe even 3. But I think maybe 2 is probably where you want this card. But it's really, really good. Aromatherapy Sweet Marjoram is the last card here. She's really good. While your life points are higher than your opponent, she keeps all your plant monsters from being able to be targeted with card effects, which is really strong protection. especially combined with Jasmine's protection from being destroyed by battle. So that's pretty solid. On Synchro Summon, she'll add a Humid Winds, Dried Winds, or Blessed Winds from deck to hand. That's so clean. Like, that's why you only need 1 Dried Winds and 1 or 2 Blessed Winds, 1 or 2 Humid Winds. They're still nice with consistency at more than 1, but not more than 2, I don't think, because of this card. This card's going to be pretty easy to make, I'd imagine, with a lot of your combos, and it just gets you an easy +1. And then if you gain a life point, if you gain life points, target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy it. Boom, bing, bang, boom. Phenomenal. I love this card. This card's really solid. Beat stick, protection, +1, and removes / disrupts on your opponent's turn. Really strong card. I cannot say enough about it. But yeah, Aromatherapy, Sweet Marjoram, really, really solid. There. And then one more card I want to point out here is Mardal Generative Light. This is going to be part of the next deck build pack, Mystic Fighters. She's a random card in there, but she's a level 9 plant, light monster, 24/24, so solid stats. And you can only control 1 at a time, but if she's normal or special summoned, you can add 1 plant monster or generate card from your deck to your hand except for herself. And that's just a hard once per turn. So it's literally just like, what? You have cards like, you probably be playing 3 Lone Fire Blossom in this deck. And with Jasmine being able to attribute anything to special anything straight from deck, any plant monster, special her, get a free search. Another plus. So I think she's like a pretty interesting card. Maybe she's just a one-up just for those kind of combos. Put a big body on board, get us extra search off of it, and then go from there. But it's a nice just plant card in general, because plants tend to be able to get high level, in their archetype on the field pretty easily. So just thought it was a pretty cool card. I just want to bring it up. But it's just one other card. But as far as the archetype goes, I think really like the deck has a ton of ways to just gain advantage. I mean, you got this card just special summoning you an Aroma monster once per turn from graveyard. She's popping cards while plussing you on Synchro Summon while protecting your board. She's letting you plus by just triggering your effects that are just going to plus like crazy. This new guy, I think this is a guy, just plops himself on field, super easy, no problems. And then all the stuff you already do. And then something I didn't mention before is I think just looking past these cards, we've got a ton of just generically great plant support cards. We've got Glow Bulb, Spore, World Carrot Weight Champion, Rose Lover. Those are all like 4 great cards that have synergy with the graveyard in this deck. So you link them off for Link Fire, then you get extra effects to plus. We've got stuff like Lone Fire Blossom, which is like the best main deck support card in any like archetype period, maybe other than like Rhoda. But that's really insane. What else? I'm trying to think. Am I missing anything else? And then you forget like you can't forget like generic stuff. Oh, Cactus Bouncer is one thing I did want to bring up as well, because that could be another win condition going first. Some people may want to establish like the Aromatherapy Jasmine plus the new Marjoram Synchro with like, I don't know, 1 or 2 of the traps set. I think that'll get it done. And it probably could against a lot of decks. It's like, it's harder out than people think. But also a route could be getting Cactus Bouncer on the field. If you're able to make Aromatherapy Jasmine without using your normal summon or all your normal summons, because you may be playing Brilliant Fusion, you may decide to play. If you have Jasmine on board, she gives you an additional normal summon. Or if you just get there without using a normal summon, then just put her on the field, then just normal summon him. He's indestructible by battle, and your opponent can't special summon, which beats like half the decks we're going to see in our competitive metagame. So another win condition, just another card to keep in mind. And then just the generic stuff that just like gains you life points too, which is just like really good. You're talking about like that new Old Man card. There's that one new continuous spell that's like every time you summon or every time your opponent does something, you gain like 300 life points, and that's it. It's just like bing, 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 bing. It just makes it so you like never have less life points than your opponent. And so there's just generic stuff like that. So don't forget about that stuff as well. This deck can make some pretty cool synchro plays too, so generic synchros as well can be abused in this deck, and I just don't think you should sleep on it. Obviously, I don't expect this to be a tier 1, even a tier 2 deck, maybe not even tier 3, but I do think it is a deck that if you're looking forward to it, you've been looking at plant stuff, definitely don't sleep on it. If you're excited, if you love the artwork, go for it. It's super cheap now. Before, Jasmine was like expensive as hell because it had like a secret rare printing. So a lot of people weren't really wanting to go after it, but a lot of the plant stuff is like super, super cheap. Like pretty much the entire deck is going to be pretty cheap. Like even Aromatherapy Jasmine, which is busted and probably should be more expensive than it is cheap because nobody respects plants. But if you're interested in it, pick it up and try it out. Let me know. Let me know your thoughts on this deck coming up, like after this. But I think it's really cool. I really do, and I love that this is like the only deck. Oh, one card I didn't mention: the new Hand Trap. Ghost Sister and Spooky Dogwood. Again, another card that just like is going to skyrocket your life point total and trigger a bunch of your effects at the same time. Really good. But guys, that's pretty much it. Let me know your thoughts down below. Let me know if you are somebody who's excited for this deck, or you're somebody that just had your eye on it, and if you want to try it out on a casual level, play with your friends, take it to locals, whatever, why not? That's all I have to say. Why the hell not? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. I'd be excited to hear it, and yeah. Subscribe if you haven't, guys, because, you know, we're trying to climb here. We're trying to grind it out. We have been in a dry spell. I haven't really gotten any Yu-Gi-Oh news lately, but whatever. I'm still making these videos. I still like just talking about random decks that nobody else wants to talk about, but they're cool. So, again, let me know. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Peace.